Hello, welcome to Laura's Painted Minis. I am Laura, and today we're back with the Wererat. So we're going to work on the swords, and I'll do some NMM on them. I've already got them painted with kind of the mid-tone gray. We'll just go ahead and jump on right in. This is just straight up gray liner with a couple drops of water. It's kind of my go-to for a dark shadow on NMM, little silver NMM. Let's see. How was everyone's weekend? If you haven't seen, they went over the results for the Reaper 90-day contest on Reaper Land. It's one of their streams that they do usually Friday afternoon. I just caught the VOD because I was actually traveling on Friday. It's always interesting to see what ends up winning. I kind of feel like there's always one where it's like, it's obvious that it was maybe popular for like a particular part of the mini, not like as a whole. Not like to like be dissing anyone. It's just there's usually a mini where I'm just like, sort of maybe a little surprised that that's placed. Again, not like nothing against the person who painted it. It's the thing with popularity type contests is things like that can happen. It does make it hard when you're trying to like get a good gauge of like how well you're doing as a painter. So in that regards, that's not gonna give you You're not going to get that in those kinds of contests. I do miss the old thing they used to use, voting thing. Because that one you could see how many votes there were for uh, each mini, each submission, which was nice because then I could kind of see where I fell. But yeah, they don't. It doesn't. Their new thing doesn't do that. At least they don't have it set up to do that. And then they only announce the top 4. They don't really do anything else. Okay, now for some touches of white. Okay, that one looks pretty decent. I had a pretty fun weekend. Went to Indianapolis with a couple friends to go see the play Wicked. So that was a lot of fun. It was one that had been wanting to see, but just hadn't been able to get a chance to. It was nice to be back home though, and have back in a regular routine and not traveling around. So yeah, we were able to get a really good B&B though, Airbnb though. It was like right across from the theater, and which is in downtown itself. So it also meant we were pretty close to a lot of other things. talking about down here. Yeah. That's actually probably the gray that I had base coated. Hey there. But hello, Adeptist. No worries. I sometimes don't always pick up on the joking. That's fine. Just so happened there is a spot that I right there that I do need to fix though. Yeah, sarcasm's kind of hard over chat. It's easier to miss when you don't have the actual voice inflection. Um, I am. So the specific reason I'm painting them is to. I'm gonna sell these on eBay, so they're paint to sell. In other words, I'm gonna keep 2 of them just because I like how he's got these little nice friends on his back. But there's 5 total. I'll probably use them for Dungeons and Dragons. That's what I typically run. I don't really paint things just to display, but I do like to paint things kind of a little bit of a slightly higher than like tabletop standard. Well, thanks. I'm just going to try and do a glaze over this to see if that will kind of help smooth out some things I'm struggling with here. Do a little cheat, so to speak. Just a really light glaze. Just check the back here. Ooh. That's not too bad. Looks shiny. Ah. I don't watch a ton of Critical Role. I kind of got into High Rollers, which is in the, and I just really don't have time to be watching more than one D&D stream at a time. I've watched some of their Dagger Heart stuff. Yeah, Mark Hilms. I know he's guest starred on uh, theirs a couple of times. I think he's done something for even for Wizards of the Coast too. I think that's the only medal really on here. Yeah. Just the swords. And 4 more to go. There's definitely a reason that I do not do army painting. Because that would take me forever to get just an army done. To my liking, anyway. I also don't really play any war gaming stuff. I know of Warhammer. I feel like there's probably other ones out there, but I do not play them, so I don't know. Natural 6, huh? Well, that's cool. I feel like there are plenty of people who just enjoy sitting and watching either people playing the games or painting. I'm currently in one Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Just joined it. It's already ongoing, so they were at level 3. So that session was essentially just kind of figuring out how myself, and there was one other gal joining, was gonna join the party. And then I'm running a separate D&D campaign. I think it might be a little mix of a homebrew and a book. Not like I think I know that particular GM has used like Midgard, I think it's called, from, I'm blanking on the name. It's a third party, but like one of the bigger third party that has been making worlds and adventures and stuff for D&D. There we go, Cobalt Press. Yep. I know they use their stuff a lot. So I think it's probably from that. I'm not entirely sure because I've not done a lot of like exploration into some of all that different stuff. And then the one I'm running is homebrew. I've even got a couple. I've got a couple playable races that are homebrew. And then yeah, so at least one homebrew kind of monster for sure. And then, well, I guess technically there's more than that because there's a couple dragons that I homebrewed. Some stats. A slider, huh? Not sure what that is. Yeah. I do have a bot that will catch those pretty well. It's slower, but yeah. Yeah, there's also some buttons actually right next to the name. It didn't seem like they were working, but I think that's also because I do have the bot and it already, I think was already cycling and processing. So but they are a little slower, but it's at least something to help moderate the stream. especially if I forget to look at chat for a bit. That way those don't sit there for all of that time. Trying to think how to summarize it. I don't want to give too much away as far as like the big bad, but because I don't know if my players watch or not. But there are definitely, well, I mentioned dragons and kind of the backstory, I guess, of the world. A little bit of a mix of like Tolkien and like the Aragon series, the Inheritance Cycle, if you ever read that. So there are like kind of a history of dragon riders, but one of them in particular kind of decided to kill the rest of them off and kind of essentially created a new race of sorts of monsters. That do his bidding, raid different villages. And then there's also like a special blade, kind of similar, again, from Tolkien of the, I call it like a, more like an actual shadow blade, not just like a blade with a special poison. Like in Tolkien. But it kind of like will transport, like spread shadow or evil within if you're stabbed with it, and essentially you kind of get transported to a like nightmare realm that the that the big baddie kind of has control of, to kind of essentially get you to, he can manipulate it to get you to a point where you will actually willingly submit to him, and then you will never be able to escape his service, so to speak. But I do have it so that there will be, yes, yeah, it is similar. Like I said, I totally very inspired by Tolkien as well as the Aragon, that Aragon series. Definitely some things that are different and kind of my own spin on things, but yeah. And I'll definitely have one dragon egg that the party, or at least the good guys, if for whatever reason the party doesn't pursue that story arc and they decide to do something completely different, then it'll just be some other ally that they will get it, I guess. Yeah. I mean, the reality is everyone is, when people write, they're using their own experiences, whether that be, you know, what they've read in the past or their life experiences. Whether they're willing to admit that, like, that is just the reality of writers. Yes, it does. And this campaign is actually kind of somewhat based off of a novel that I've been writing off and on. Like it's the same world and it's going to be kind of around the same time. I kind of am starting a little bit before where the book actually starts. And one of the characters has already met the main character of that book. But I don't want to like overshadow their characters. I don't plan on that character actually being a main part of the campaign. This will be my player's story. I don't know. I've thought about that because yeah, it would be kind of interesting. I haven't finished the book, so kind of depends if it would fit in with like what I end up how I end up tying things off and finishing things, and, or if my players go in a very different direction than what I would go if I were just writing it on my own. I mean, yeah, it all depends. And I honestly don't even know if I'll get the book finished to even consider publishing it or not. I'm just it's kind of more for fun. That's true. Yeah. Be like the the reverse of what Star Wars did, where they used that one line and made a whole movie. Rogue One. And now there's a whole series as well, leading up to Rogue One. But it was literally like one line in the movie from the original movies. Yeah, I'd say I'm kind of with you there. I not as excited about the older the the main movies um as a lot of people are. Their TV shows and Rogue One and Han Solo, or just maybe it was just Solo. I felt like had more of an actual plot or story. Yeah, I liked Dune. I haven't seen I've only seen the part one because I didn't see it in theaters. And the acting in it is really good too. Okay, I'm gonna stop there for today. But we got a good start on the NMM on these guys. But thanks for stopping by, Adeptus. I'll be back on Thursday. We'll see. I'll probably be working on this. It's the Hag. Be using her in a one shot. They'll be running this fall. So not a ton more to do. I've got leaves here and there around the base, and also I think here are supposed to be leaves too she's holding. So we'll see. If I end up finishing her before Thursday, then we'll start on this guy. See if he'll focus. Technically like meant to be a hyena. I'm gonna paint him and kind of use him as a yes hound, I think is how it's pronounced. So best thing that I have without having to go out and find some random obscure mini that I might not use. And I'll probably go with a general hound color scheme. I can always add in the spots or something later if I want to make it a hyena. So yeah. Have a good afternoon or evening wherever you are at. And hopefully I will see you on Thursday, same time, 1:15 p.m. Central Time. All right, bye.